Hey everybody, it's Jason from the Texas Gun Vault 2, and it is a great night out here in the garage for another Garage Gun Talk. Why? Because this is a day I have been waiting for so long. Wayne LaPierre has resigned as the Executive Vice President of the National Rifle Association. Well, I guess his resignation doesn't really go into effect until January 31st, but essentially his tenure at the head of that organization is coming to an end. And I had a few people contact me when the news broke, and I thought it was absolutely fantastic. However, I really feel like our celebration should be cautious, okay? Because, Wayne LaPierre was only in there and able to hold on to power despite all of the negative media attention, despite gun owners revolting, because the people that were running the organization were his sycophants, people that were on the board of directors. They are just as culpable and they are just as guilty as Wayne LaPierre is and was. They allowed that organization to be gutted, to be mismanaged. And when they had an opportunity and a fiduciary opportunity to the members of the NRA to change course, to fix things, to fix its reputation, to address these issues, what did they choose to do? Almost unanimously, every single time, vote him back in as executive vice president. I mean, think about this. You guys are members of the YouTube gun community. And let's be honest, when it comes to all these social media platforms, would be YouTube, Rumble, Instagram, Facebook, whatever. This is the heart of the gun culture. This is how we communicate to each other. And while, of course, there's always going to be pockets and subcultures, you can get a vibe and a feel of the mainstream gun culture, the gun industry from social media. And you saw everybody from the very small channels like myself all the way up to the biggest gun channels out there. They were all against Wayne LaPierre. They were all against the NRA. You talk to your friends, you talk to other people. They might be NRA members begrudgingly because they'd already paid a lifetime membership, or they have to be a member of the NRA to be part of the range that they're at, but they don't want to be a part of the organization. You saw how nobody talks about them. It was crazy because 5 years ago, they were the gun organization. I want to say gun rights organization, but they never really fought for your rights. And now when people think of pro-Second Amendment groups, what do we think of? FPC, the Second Amendment Foundation, the GOA. And regardless of what you think of each of those individual organizations, they have taken up the mantle and grown exponentially in the past few years because the NRA became ineffectual. And everyone saw the corruption, the waste, the fraud, the abuse. Personally, I am sad to see that, the state of New York going after the NRA because, the NRA does have a history, it has a heritage, and it has a purpose. And it started to stray from that purpose. A friend of mine and I were talking about nonprofit organizations recently, and something that had to do nothing with guns, had to do with music. And he used a term that I really liked how it sounded, and I think it applies to this situation. He called it mission drift, in that you create an organization that has a mission. And then due to either culture, mismanagement, leadership, it begins to shift from its mission, its core mission. And then over time, it gets so far away, the compass is now pointing in such a different direction that you have a mission statement and a stated goal of one thing and an actual working organization towards a different goal. And when that happens, the organization begins to falter. The cracks in the foundation begin to show. And many times this is because of poor leadership at many levels and people not willing to course correct and people losing sight of the true focus of what they were there to do. And Wayne LaPierre is a career politician, okay? I know I say, politician. He never held office, but he was a politician. He played politics. The one thing that I am a huge believer in is that in positions of power, both in the private sector and in the public sector, especially in the public sector, but also maybe even in nonprofits and all this kind of stuff, you have to have term limits on power. You have to. And it's not because of anything besides the human condition. I don't care how noble, virtuous, moral, ethical you are, and myself. When you're given power, when you're given the ability to control so much for so long, you begin to lose sight. I believe that there's a lot of politicians in Washington, D.C. A lot of people, I do believe, get into politics because their heart is in the right place. People run for Congress. I think when you see these people that are local business people and they run for Congress, they don't run going, I'm part of the machine. I'm going to make millions. I'm going to do that. They don't do that. They really go because something ticked them off and they feel like they can make a difference. And then they get to Washington, D.C., and they have to become part of the machine. And the machine changes them over time, where they were one way when they got there, but after they've been elected for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 terms in the House of Representatives, now they've been there for 20 years, they no longer have the passion, the drive, the desire to do what they initially set out to do. Now it's about keeping that power, keeping the perks of the job. You've had mission drift. Now you're comfortable. Now you live a certain way. Your family lives a certain way because now you reap the benefits of the position in the office that you hold. And Wayne LaPierre was a victim of this. And he had been there, I guess, in his executive vice president position since 1991. And he'd been a member of the organization, I guess, starting to work his way up since, like, before I was born. He was in there. I was born in 1980, and he was born, or not born. He started in that organization like 77 or 78. So, I mean, he lost sight. He became rich. He became powerful. And over time, as a master manipulator, he was able to move people into positions of power, people on the board, change the rules of the board, change the governing rules of the organization to centralize and focus power on him. And he lost sight of what the organization was about. And he became so distant from the average member of the NRA that the rot of what he stood for, what he did, it became so cancerous it destroyed the organization. And I'm not sure if him holding on to power for as long as he did when as many people were against him was out of narcissism and ego, or was it out of fear that if he left the organization and lost his power, the money, and them defending him in court with members' fees, that he would go to jail? I don't know what it was. I don't know what his motivation was. We can only speculate. But most of the motivation, or maybe it was even ignorance. He had no idea. He acted like, we're going to continue to fight. And I think he even made a statement like, even if he's not a member, he's still going to continue to fight for your right. I don't think he knows what fighting for rights are. He's that ignorant of reality. But regardless of what his reason was, they're all bad. I can't come up with a good reason. It's not like he left the organization because he resigned because, I've done all I can do, or I don't want to hurt the NRA. It's too late for all that. It's too late. I believe that the NRA finally had to sit down. People that were in power at mid and upper levels of management sat down with him and said, listen, we've run the numbers. We're looking at these court cases. It doesn't look good for us. Doesn't look good. We're not going to win these. Our membership is declining. our dues are declining, and you're not fooling anybody. So we have now reached a point of destruction, and we have one Hail Mary pass to turn this around. You have to go. That's exactly what it was. I think finally the writing was on the wall, that they realized that if he stayed in, the NRA will be non-existent in 3 to 5 years. And there was enough people that maybe came to their senses to realize and talk to him and said, if you don't do this, the board or maybe somebody collectively behind the scenes finally got enough people to say on the board, we will have a vote of no confidence, or we will remove you, and we will no longer help your legal defense. You have to leave. But him leaving doesn't mean there's this great course correction now. I think from a visual standpoint, it's good. But the people that allowed it to happen, the people that put him there, are still there. So unless there is a complete gutting of the board of directors, and I've heard people say they need to cut the board of directors from what, I think it's like 76 people or something, down to about 30. Get rid of the rot, get rid of the unnecessaries, the people that never show up to these things. Get 25 or 30 people that actually care about gun rights, care about firearms, care about the Second Amendment on this board of directors. People that are actually going to show up for these meetings, take this stuff seriously and get the job done. If they don't do that, the organization is still going to fall, because most likely they already know who his successor is going to be. I don't know if they've named this person or not. But most likely they're going to be a Wayne LaPierre ally. They might come out and say, well, I'm here to change things. But most likely, if you look into their past, they're going to be a Wayne LaPierre ally. Or they'll elevate somebody from the board of directors, or somebody that's already in mid-level management, or whatever. And you're going to get more of the same stuff. It's a start. It's a start because I do believe he was kind of a mastermind. I could be wrong on this. I always talk about personality types. I really do feel that Wayne LaPierre is a very similar personality type to I am. That I can see how he works. I can see his manipulation. I've talked about how my personality type of an INTJ is the same as in fictional works like Professor Moriarty or the Emperor from Star Wars, people that are playing this game of chess and moving pieces and that kind of stuff. I see the world in that way, and I try to work in that way in my own personal life. But I always joke, I like to use my superpower of manipulation and being an architect of the universe, but for good and not evil. But I can see other people doing it. I'm aware of it. And he did that. And trust me, he has contingency plans in place. You don't get to be at that position and to be able to survive all the opposition he had for so long if he doesn't have a contingency plan in place. So, unless the organization is gutted, don't support them yet. They have to prove it to us. Now, if they say, hey, we've offered the executive vice president to Coleon Noir. Well, okay. A lawyer, very pro-Second Amendment. Okay. Maybe things are going to change. But if they come in with somebody that you've never heard of that happened to be like this person was director of operations and blah, blah, blah. He's a Wayne LaPierre, sycophant and things. And the organization is not going to get any better. Visually, they might get more members because people that don't follow the stuff like you or I do. But in the long run, the organization will still rot. You have to cut that rot out. So is it a win? Yes. Should we be celebrating? Maybe a little bit. But don't overreact yet. Don't overreact. As the saying goes, it takes years to build a reputation and seconds to destroy it. They have to rebuild the reputation of the NRA, slowly but surely. You cannot let them have it overnight. Otherwise, the people that are in power, the contingency plan of Wayne LaPierre, will win. The NRA can do a lot of good. It has potential. But it has to be reborn. It has to be gutted. It has to be rebuilt. And this is a good first step. But it can't stop here. And you guys have to keep the pressure on them. If the NRA starts calling you again now and saying, you know how you were saying not a penny until Wayne LaPierre is gone. Well, guess what? Wayne LaPierre is gone. You need to press them and be like, are these board of directors still there? The people that voted for him constantly? Because they are just as guilty as Wayne LaPierre. Not a penny until that board of directors is gone. You keep the pressure up. You have to keep the pressure up. But it's good news. It's good news. And I will say, normally, when it comes to things like this, I don't want to have a feeling of retribution and retaliation. But when it comes to Wayne LaPierre, I really do believe that what he did for so long, and after all this stuff came out and how he held on to power, it does borderline on criminal and evil. It's, there are people that do bad things, that are bad managers, that are bad bosses, that are, bad executives. But they really do believe they're doing good. Or they really are trying. Their heart is in the right place, but they fail. That's completely different than when you are bombarded every day with messages, not one penny until you are gone. And you can go online, you see the hate, not only from anti-gunners, which you expect, you see it from pro-gunners, you see it the most influential people on YouTube, Rumble, Instagram, Facebook. You look at the forums, you look at the websites like The Truth About Guns, and everybody talks about how bad you are, how you're destroying the organization. You can look at the financial numbers of the organization, and you still feel like you being at the top is the best choice. You're evil. And because we're dealing with something that is an enumerated constitutional right that we have to fight every single day for, because the people that want to strip us of these rights are tireless. They will never stop. They never sleep. It is paramount. It is so important that the person at the top of the organization, that while might not be the most effective, is the most visual. If they're not doing their job and doing it right and working hard, then it's criminal. Because Wayne LaPierre, his desire to become rich and have power and to hold on to power was greater than your rights in his mind. He would sell out your gun rights for generations. What our forefathers fought for, he would sell it out like that so he could have that $25 million vacation to the Bahamas or Bermuda or wherever he went, to have all that luxury travel, to have a $17 million parachute. He doesn't care about your rights. He claims in his resignation that it has to do with health. Maybe some of that's the case. He is in his 70s. But we all know, and I'm just playing the insurance actuarial table math here, it's not like he has another 70 years ahead of him. What's he going to care in 10 or 15 years when he's no longer here? He got everything he wanted. You can't take it back from him now. He's gone. He didn't care about you and your rights. I think it borderlines on criminal act, an intentional act. He threw us all under the bus, and we all knew it for years. We've been talking about it for years. So while I am not a fan of Letitia James and, the Attorney General of New York going after the NRA and going after him, because I think that what she's doing is beyond her power and scope of what she can do and should do. I'm not shedding a tear that Wayne LaPierre is fearful right now. I'm not shedding a tear that he's looking at losing everything. I'm not shedding a tear that maybe he's going to be facing criminal charges, even though I know the lawsuit right now is civil, that maybe one day he will face criminal charges if it finds out that he was doing something with, breaking the law of incorporation in New York. then he needs to go to jail. He needs to be perp walked. If he's fearful that he is going to spend his last days in jail, then that's the way it needs to be. Because there are some things we don't screw around with. And one of those things is our rights. It's not just our rights for today, it's for the rights for tomorrow. For the people that have not been born yet. For the people that 100 years from now will be able to own firearms and use them to defend from enemies foreign and domestic. It's for those people. He was willing to sell it all out. Something so great and so important that the United States and our country is one of the last bastions of people that have a gun culture like that. And he would throw it all away so he could have his stupid $30,000 suit. He deserves everything he gets. And that's my thoughts on that, in my opinions. And if I sound passionate, it's because I am. I know I've talked in the past about my disagreements with the NRA and things. And you guys know where I've stood, and I know where you guys stand. But this is a great day. But the battle's not over, and don't stop pressuring the NRA from doing the right thing, because there's a lot of work ahead. I mean, this is like the first 5% of righting the ship. So we have to see who the successor is. We have to see what the board does. We have to see if they change their rules. We have to see this. But just Wayne being gone, yeah, it's worthy of celebrating, but it's not everything. So, have a glass of champagne tonight, but the battle continues tomorrow. That's what I got to say and think about all this. I'm curious what you guys think, so I hope you guys tell me in the comment section. But let's end this with a little bit of gun talk. I was actually out here tonight filming the garage portion of a range report on this Ruger American Predator in .308. Good rifle. And the video is inside rendering right now. I'm going to upload it and get it ready for Patreon release in the next couple days. But I did have a question, and I need some help from some of you guys. This is going to go back to the M17 modular handgun system stuff. You guys know I recently bought one of the military decommissioned and issued pistols. And I got the FOIA request on it, and I showed you yesterday that Brent, a subscriber to the Texas Gun Vault, sent one of the operator's manuals from the military. And I thought to myself, it'd be nice to have a holster. Now, I went online. I know the Safariland holster that they use. In fact, I bought one of the kits, or like the complete package, for my unissued one, because I have an M17 that was never issued in the military, but it is a surplus gun. But I thought it'd be really cool to have a military issued holster for it, for the one that I got that was issued and decommissioned. But I've looked online, I can't find anybody that has an issued, decommissioned, or surplus one in used condition. And I was curious if any of you guys know of any place I could find one for sale. Now, I know sometimes people say, you're just asking people to have things sent to... No, I'm not. I'm totally willing to pay for it, okay? I'm looking for the M17 Safariland holster kit, but in issued condition, to go along with an issued decommissioned pistol. I kind of feel like that's the way it should go. If I have this nice, beautiful, perfect holster, but it has an issued gun, it doesn't look right. I want one that was carried by a soldier and used. Now, I know some people say, well, why don't you just go buy one, use it? It's not the same. I want to buy, just like you can go out and buy like used surplus M9 holster or holsters for the M9 pistol. What's the model? The M12, I think it is, or the M10, I forgot, holster. Anyway, whatever it is. I want, just like if you can find some of this older stuff at like military surplus, Army, Navy surplus stores and things. But I know this is a new gun and a new holster, so that stuff really hasn't trickled onto the market too much. But I'm just curious if any of you guys have any leads on used and issued Safariland holsters, so I could kind of complete that package, to have one that say, hey, this one was actually issued and used to go along with that pistol. So I need your help on that. That would be really, really cool to have. But anyway, That's all I wanted to talk about tonight. Wayne LaPierre, you saw how passionate I got, and looking for an M17 issued decommissioned holster. So let me know what you guys think, what you guys know. And the word of the day. What is the word of the day? Let's make it celebrate, okay? Well, I don't think we should celebrate too much. We have a lot of hard work ahead of us, and the NRA still needs to change. But the fact that Wayne LaPierre is going to be gone at the end of this month is time for celebration. So celebrate is the word of the day. If you made it to the end of this long, rambly video, use the word celebrate, and I know you saw it to the end. So let me know if you think it's a good day, because I think it is. So, as always, thanks for watching.